Good morning and welcome to our Bible through the year, and this morning an introduction to the book of Lamentations. This is going to be a difficult read for the next 2 days. I think it's 2 days that we are looking at this book together, and it is bleak. It is a bleak book, and it is a book that, in terms of when we think about the wars and the conflicts that there are in the world, whether that's in Ukraine, whether that's in the Middle East, whether that's in North Africa or other places around the world where there is, big conflict. Particularly, I think now in May, as I'm recording this, of what's going on in Gaza and the Palestinian territories, because of the sheer level of devastation. But the same would be true for places in Ukraine as well, where the invading army has come in and they have, decimated the area, and I think in Lamentations, part of it is saying, well, happy are those who were killed by the sword, because at least they're not starving to death. And so you've got starvation that is happening for a population, because there's no food and there's no land left to grow food, and there's no people left really to do that, and just awful things that happen, cannibalism that happens as the devastation of war is there, and children starving and dying, babies, women, children. It's just it's an awful read, and I want to prepare you for that because it is difficult, and maybe that's why it's broken up for 2 days, because it's actually only a short read, Lamentations, but to read it all in one go would be difficult. But I think of it really, it is a set of poems. It's actually poetry. I was looking at this today, that there are sort of 5 poems, and they are 3 of them at least are acrostic poems. So they have 22 lines in the poems, each starting with a different letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which has 22 letters in. And there's a middle chapter which has got 66 lines in it. It's a triple couplet, but it's not an acrostic poem. And so it is a collection of war poetry, an anthology of war poetry. And I remember when I was a kid, when I was at school, studying war poetry, First World War poetry in English language, English literature, and the writings of Wilfred Owen. And there's a particular poem that sprung to mind when I was reading Lamentations that kind of chimed in with the particular tone of what we read in Lamentations. And I wanted just to read you a little bit of that poem, because I think it captures something of the spirit of what we see in this book. So it says, if you too could pace behind the wagon that we flung him in, and watch his white eyes writhing in his face, his hanging face, like a devil sick of sin. If you could hear at every jolt the blood come gargling from his froth-corrupted lungs, bitter as the cut, vile, incurable sores on the tongue. My friend, you would not tell with such high zest to children desperate for some ardent glory, the old lie, dulce et decorum est pro patria mori, which is in Latin, it is a glorious and honourable thing to die for your country. So here is Wilfred Owen, who is a soldier back on injured leave, recovering, reflecting upon the horrors that he's seen in the war, and it shocked the readers. And Lamentations is is that kind of book. It shocks us as we read it. But I think what it does is it asks a lot of questions of God in that place. Where is God? In the midst of utter desolation, of oblivion, where is God in the middle of that? How do we live and keep going and have faith in those bleakest of times? These are questions that kind of come up as a result of Lamentations, and out of the situations that has birthed the book of Lamentations. And they are unanswered questions, because really there is no answer. There's no answer that's going to satisfy, no academic answer, theological answer, spiritual answer, humanist answer that can give you a rationale to say that somehow this is okay. It's not. It's the bleakest and hardest of times. But that somehow in the midst of that, there's faith. And that's a beautiful thing, that there is hope, even in the bleakest of places. And actually one of my favourite readings in the Bible that inspired one of the great hymns that we sing on a Sunday comes from Lamentations. And you find it in chapter 3, in the middle of chapter 3 of Lamentations. So almost right bang smack in the middle of the book of Lamentations, and this is what the writer says, and I think most people would say that they attribute Lamentations to Jeremiah, so it kind of follows on a bit from what we've looked at. He says in verse 19, "I remember my affliction and my wandering, the bitterness and the gall. I well remember them, and my soul is downcast within me. Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. I say to myself, the Lord is my portion, therefore I will wait for him." You know, that amazing, isn't it? Those words at any time, beautiful, heartfelt, hopeful words, but words that come in that place, those words coming in that place is miraculous, utterly miraculous. To say, I well remember the hardship, the bitterness, the gall, the wanderings, the horrors that I've seen. I remember them. They're etched on my memory. They're carved into my soul. But this I remember and call to mind, that we're not consumed, that God's compassions never fail, even when it looks like they have. They're new every morning. And it may well be for you that you think of a particular hard time or a particular moment of suffering that you've been through, the bleakest of times, the hardest of times, whether it's loss, bereavement, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, whether it's the breakdown of a significant relationship, whatever it is, when in the darkest moments of your life that are etched on your soul and carved into your memory, we were not consumed, because his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. And may we, with the writer of Lamentations and the people in that great darkness, be able to say that your faithfulness is new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. He's been with us. He's not abandoned us. He's not left us. And his compassions are new. And may they be new for you as you read this book and as you reflect on those areas of your life where there is convergence between what you're going to read and what you've experienced. May you experience afresh and anew this morning the compassions of a faithful God. God bless you.